Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Completionist. So for this episode, guys, I decided to come up with a brand new series, and that series is Defending Bad Games. And the reason why that I wanted to make a series like this, guys, is I've noticed, especially, with regards to all the games that I play, I tend to have a habit of enjoying games that may not have the biggest fan reception. And usually fans have a lot of negative reactions, to these games. But for some apparent reason, despite all the negative stigma that's associated to specific games, I tend to find something to actually enjoy about them, and they tend to be, some of my favorite games, in a specified series. So, I don't think that me defending these games are going to change the minds of people who already hate these games to begin with. But I just wanted to share with you guys the reasons why I personally enjoy them and why they may be worth, a second look to those that have actually played them before. But it could also give people enough motivation to actually give these games a try to begin with. And go figure, guys, we're going back to the wonderful world of Mega Man, which I've definitely talked about plenty of times before. So, as you see from the title, the game that I'm going to try to do a bad job of defending is personally one of my favorites in the Mega Man X series, and that is Mega Man X6. Now, from my understanding, Mega Man X6 wasn't supposed to be made. I think I read somewhere that, KJ Inafune, considered, X5 as the conclusion of the Mega Man X series. But in hindsight, I'm kind of glad that they actually found a way to actually make Mega Man X6, because in my eyes, it's actually one of my favorite games in the Mega Man X series. In the X series, there are 8 games, and I would put Mega Man X6 in the within the top 4. Usually for a lot of Mega Man X fans, it's often universally regarded that Mega Man X7 is often regarded as the worst in the series. And for a lot of hardcore Mega Man fans, X6 is pretty much close behind. It's actually within the bottom 4. But there's something about this game that I actually really enjoy, despite the negative reaction that, a lot of fans had towards it. There's actually a really popular YouTube video about this gamer that really tears apart, everything that's horrible in Mega Man X6. And trust me, his complaints are completely justified. It's not a very well-designed game. And the thing with Mega Man X6 is that it is brutally difficult, and it's not difficult for the right reasons either. There's a lot of nasty shenanigans in the game, there's a lot of poor level design in the game, and there's aspects of the game that actually feels rushed. So despite all these negative connotations directed towards Mega Man X6, why is it that I managed to find something to enjoy about it? Well, I think for me, one of the biggest reasons why I like Mega Man X6 so much is, personally, I think it has some of the best music in the entire Mega Man X series. I really love the soundtrack in this game. And the funny thing, with the Mavericks, the Maverick bosses in this game, or as they're called in this game, investigators, I don't think there's a weak investigator track in the game. I think they all bring something different to the table, and some of the tracks have a really nice metal vibe to them, even though I'm not really a fan of metal music. But strangely enough, it actually fits with a lot of the stages in this game. Some of my favorite Maverick themes in the game is Blaze Heatnik's. Love that theme. I love the theme for Blizzard Wolfgang, and Rainy Turtleoid, and Shield Sheldon. And the tracks range a lot. Some of the tracks can be very ambient with like a calming tone to them, and then some of the other tracks are just like pure metal, and it just gets you into the game as well. And it's just one of those soundtracks I could never ever get sick of. And I think one of the reasons why, I think I really enjoy the game is that the game is difficult. And, I often say that, I like games that have a great sense of transitional difficulty, but, a lot of the difficulty in this game, is really unfair. It does have some poor level design, but yet it still has this addictive factor that that will actually keep me playing. For those who are unfamiliar with Mega Man X6, there's only probably 2 of the Robot Master or Investigator stages that are relatively easy, and that's Commander Yenomark, the Dragonfly, Maverick, and Ground Skarvik. I don't know if I pronounced that right, and that's the Dung Beetle. Those are the only two stages that I find relatively easy, because the rest of the stages I find incredibly hard. And even if you get to the stage, some of the Robot Masters, sorry, I keep calling them Robot Masters, from the original Mega Man series, but even some of the investigators, if you're not prepared with the right weapon, can actually be incredibly difficult. But despite the difficult nature of the game, I was still addicted to it. It still made me want to keep on playing. And I guess one stage that's notorious for being difficult is Metal Shark Player. Where you have a giant compression machine always trying to squish and crush you, and it's literally a one-hit kill. If the crusher actually crushes you, then you die. That stage has a lot of really poor stage design, and it can get really unfair at points, but yet I still love it. And the craziest thing for me, guys, like, this isn't the first video game series where I actually applaud the game for being difficult. Another series that I've played a lot of games for and I have a lot of fondness for is Castlevania. And the funny thing with me in Castlevania is that, I tend to prefer the Castlevania games that are more on the difficult side, that are more on the unfair side. Because to me, if a Castlevania game is too easy, then it doesn't feel like Castlevania. And I tend to enjoy the much harder Mega Man games than the easier ones. And I think it's because of its difficulty that it's one of the biggest reasons why I like Mega Man X6. Yes, there are points where the difficulty in Mega Man X6 actually feels unfair, but I still love it. It still keeps me playing. And one of the other really great things that I love about Mega Man X6 is that it has a ton of collectibles. In the game, I completed this game, a long time ago, in the mid-2000s. And so it's been a long time since I've actually picked up and play it, but you know my rule: once I complete a game, then I permanently retire it. And the funny thing is that I think this is one of the games where I might have to break that rule and actually go back to it, because the game has 3 endings, so you can definitely get your time out of it, and there's a ton of collectibles. Like, you have to rescue Reploids in this game, and all depending on the Reploids that you rescue, you get access to certain moves for both X and Zero. And but one of the craziest things that I find really unfair about the game is that you have like these Sigma Nightmare bots that will actually try to attach themselves to one of the Reploids that needs the rescue. And if they reach the Reploid before you do, and it gets its tentacles on it, then it permanently destroys the Reploid and you have no access to it. And I've learned that the hard way because even if you exit the stage and go back into the stage again, the Reploid is gone. You can't rescue it anymore, and then and if that Reploid actually has a power up, then you can't get access to that power up anymore. And for me and my completionist standards, I have to rescue every Reploid in the game. And there's actually a section of the game about halfway through Infinity Mijinion's stage where you get halfway through the stage and you're in this giant open pit, with all these cables that you have to hold on to, and there's a whole bunch of Reploids. But there's a whole bunch of these nightmare virus tentacle bots as well, so you're trying to get to them before they do, but there's so many that you just can't get to them in time. But if you manage to kill yourself, if you jump into the bottomless pit before these bots attach themselves onto the Reploid, then when you go back to the stage, then the Reploid you rescued will stay rescued, and then the Reploids that haven't been rescued, will still be there. So I used to find a way of just rescuing a bunch of them, jumping in a pit, killing myself, so that the other ones never got destroyed, just to make sure that I actually managed to get them all. And but that's just an aspect of bad game design, because even if you don't get all the Reploids, you should be able to exit the stage and go back and have a chance to get them. But I guess that's just a way of creating the urgency of trying to rescue these Reploids to begin with. And sometimes guys, in this game, the completionist requirements can be pretty cryptic. I'm just basing this just on memory, from when I played the game in the mid-2000s. I know it's never really easy how you get 0 in the game, and because when you start the game, you start off as Mega Man X, and you actually have the ability to use Zero's sword, but it's never clear cut, how you actually rescue Zero and purge his ghosts, so you get to use him as a playable character. But there's plenty of guides out there that can actually guide you how to do the game correctly, and then you gotta collect a bunch of souls, and that can be a bit of a grind fest. And there definitely is a lot to actually despise about the game, but despite the game's shortcomings, I actually found something to really enjoy about it. And the fact that it has some really excellent music, I really love the fights against the investigators, and I just love all the collectibles that it has, and the fact that the game has multiple endings, which I'm glad that the X games managed to do very early on in the series. It was X2, where you could where you finally had multiple endings that you could actually try to achieve. So for those that haven't played X6 before, I highly recommend it. Just to experience the music itself. If you're a Mega Man fan and you hate X6, then nothing I say will ever change your mind. But if you're willing to look at it and to give it a second try, I personally think it's worth it. I think there's a lot to really like about this game, and I really love this game over X5, and I'm kind of back and forth if I enjoy this game just as much as X4, but I think X4 just holds a slight edge. But anyway, if you have access to this game, please give it a try. I don't think it's too expensive at all, and I'm sure there's plenty of ways that you can actually download it, and I know there's a bunch of Mega Man X collections out there, so if you see the game, definitely give it a try, and I certainly hope you find something to like about it, much like I have. So anyway guys, this is the first episode of me defending bad games, and I certainly hope you enjoyed it. So anyway guys, like I always say, take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.